I saw three beings walking out of the field towards me that were very frightening. They were kind of walking in lockstep. They were small gray creatures wearing like blue cloaks or robes.
As I pulled the drape aside, all of a sudden there were 5 beings, this tall, all around me.
Nelms has drawn what she remembers of her encounters. These are the 5 beings she says came in quickly that night and took her.
I could not move, couldn't do a thing, and I was trying to grab the railings to stop myself from being taken. They had total control.
At that point, something caught my attention on the other side of the field, and I turned and I saw another being, which when I made eye contact with it, all the fear went away immediately. It was the most intense emotions that I've ever felt at any time in my life.
This is the being that talked to me. He said in a very monotoned voice, "Jane, it is your time to come." And I said, "I am not going anywhere."
I see a small gray female being sitting there just waiting for me to spot her. And then she, I don't know whether she flew or what, but she sure came across the bed fast right up to my face and steered right like this.
The focus of the entire enterprise seems to me to be unmistakably on reproductive issues.
I've been on a table and I've seen something removed from my body, a fetus, a baby. It was so small I couldn't believe that it could live on its own.
And then the next thing that followed after that was that my legs were being spread apart.
Though from my vantage point on a table with my legs in the air, I can't see too awful much about what's going on or describe in detail.
I don't even know how to say this. He started to put my legs apart. And this female brought a baby and she sort of handed him to me. And I instantly said, this baby is mine. I know he's mine. She pulled the baby away from me and said, "No, this baby is ours."
I've been shown children. I've been shown babies. I've been asked to hold children and babies. I've been asked to give these children affection. And these children aren't alien children, and they're not human children. They're somewhere in between.
In like little glass boxes, I've seen these babies. Their bodies are very, very tiny. They look very thin and emaciated almost, and they're very quiet, and they don't move. And it's almost a very sad picture for some reason.
They put like a jock strap on you of some sort with a tube attached to it, and it runs to a machine, and they somehow extract sperm. I don't know how they do it.
The most humiliating thing that happened to me is they put a cylindrical sort of thing over my genitals, and it made me have an orgasm in a second. And I really feel like I'm one of those few men who knows what a woman feels like when she's raped.
I was being invaded. The only way I can explain it is I know what it's like to be raped.
I think what we need at this point is science to simply say, okay, it's going on. I want to look into it. What's the matter with that?
They saw 5 beings all coming straight towards their home in a rather unique fashion. They were hopping. The way they described it was they were all hopping, I guess, either in unison or one after the other, but that's how it was described, a hopping motion straight towards their home. These beings all went straight through their front door. Not like the door was open, but instead they pretty much just phased straight through the door, and then there they were right in front of them, and that's when the entire family experienced this abduction thereafter.
By account, there were actually 3 beings. And the most peculiar thing was the way in which it moved, because it almost felt as if it would disappear and appear a few meters ahead of itself.
Well, when it moved, what I remember is that I would see it over here, and then I would blink, maybe. I mean, again, I don't know about, it seemed like I would blink and it would be over on another side. So I can't really say if it moved like a human, because that's very unhuman-like, like no human can move that way. So the answer to that would be no. But I do remember seeing the being in more than one place in a given period of time, but I don't know what that time frame was. Like I said, I have no idea.
And did you see it like, did it look like it was floating? I've heard other people say like they never saw it actually touch the ground, its feet.
No, in this case, like I was saying, it would just be the appearing and disappearing. So I would just warrant to guess and say, yes, it probably looked like it was floating, but at no point did it ever look like it was physically running, if I could say that.
Mm-hmm.
The most, I mean, other than the entire thing being almost like an out-of-body experience, time seemed to be the really kind of odd thing that stuck out, in that it seemed like it had slowed down immensely. I had no concept of time. I had no concept of time from the time that I had seen the flashing lights to the time that I saw the being to when I let go of my friend Emma's hand. I do not know how much time went by. It seemed like everything was moving really slowly.
The car began rising into the air, going up with us in it. And after a period of time of this sensation of extreme speed rising upward, being pulled by some force that would not let go, both actually of us found ourselves outside of the car. We were not any longer seeing it. We were in a circular room that was gray, just a nondescript gray. She and I were both standing there. There was a hallway in front of us, and there were several gray aliens that came over and took my hands and began walking me down the hall.
Can you describe the aliens? How high were they? Do they have hands, feet, face?
They do, yes, ma'am. They have very large heads. They're probably about 3.5 to maybe 4 feet tall. The eyes are very dark, slanted, larger than human eyes. The mouth is nothing but a slit. I didn't notice any ears. The nose, to me, all I could see was just a little, tiny little structure. It didn't look like it was really used. They're very thin. They do have 2 arms, 2 legs. The arms are longer than our arms. The hands are very different. The ones I saw had only 4 fingers, basically. One could have been a thumb and 3 fingers. They're longer. They had what appeared to be, to me, a kind of a fleshy pad on the end of the fingertips, almost like a suction pad, like on a frog type of thing. They're very non-human looking.
What did they do with you?
They brought me to a room that was brightly lit. They left Mother standing at that point. That was all I could recall, was that Mother was still standing back there. They brought me forward into a room which looked exactly, well, not exactly, but it's reminiscent of what a doctor's office would look like. It appeared to be a medical room. There was a table in there, and they led me over to the table. And somewhere in the process, I was disrobed, and they laid me upon the table and performed some kind of medical procedures. They appeared to be gynecological in nature. And after a time of performing these procedures, they finally got through with whatever they were doing. And then they got me on up from the table. The next thing that I recalled was being led out of that room into another room where this was a larger room. It was not as brightly lit as the medical room was. And in the center of this room was what looked like a man-sized tube, basically of glass or something clear, plastic, something. And standing in that tube was Mother, just standing there, unmoving. And when I saw her, I was very distressed. I had the feeling, I didn't know really if Mother was alive. You know, she was standing there not moving, not making any motions. I was real upset.
And were you scared, madam?
Not terrorized, scared. Just confused. You know, where are we? What's happened? And the first part was similar to hers, of course.
You had the same story?
Up to the point where we're on board the ship. But I'm in this same foyer or area that we came out in on the ship. And I saw her and these two little creatures going down the hall. Their backs were to me. And I was somewhat depressed in the thing about the fact that she's going and I'm here, and I'd rather keep us all together. But she goes on and disappears. And seemingly a little bit of time passes and I'm looking around me to see what's going on. And then the next thing I know, I'm in that last room, the round one where that tube affair is. And in that room, I was never aware of the tube, but I did see the wall with the instruments on it. They looked like computer readouts, except they were scrolling from the right to the left instead of up and down like American ones do. And then after that, I'm zooming out of the bottom of the car, out of the bottom of this thing. And I looked up and saw this thing up over my head, the machine. And it had this iris eye on it that was just closing as we're going out. And we get back in the car.